Over the last few weeks there's been quite a bit of work going on with Lilyfield Road, and we're just going to have a look at some of the safety issues. Now, note just here as I come off the bridge, there's no cars parked immediately on the Lilyfield Road, and you can use that little transition zone there to get up to speed. And also notice that cyclist popped out of a driveway. He rode along a footpath and came out of the driveway there. Now, what we're going to see here is a unsafe overtake with an oncoming vehicle, and this happens more than it should. Now you can see there's a vehicle coming up the hill there. This is a fairly blind corner. This driver just can't get out of the way. If he goes left, he's going to smack into the cyclist in front of me. Thankfully there's no cyclist coming up the hill on the other side of the road, because you can see that the driver coming up the road was forced to swerve left into the bike lane. Now this is just to reinforce that we really do need to get a properly grade separated bike lane on Lilyfield Road with concrete to stop this kind of behaviour. Now, people very rarely go through that cycle cutout anymore because of issues like that car parked on the corner there and that hole in the road there, which I marked in red. It's extremely uncomfortable to ride over that. Now, I took an outside line and he took an inside line, but he had to brake to wiggle around it, which was not good. Now we're coming up to the bike lane here. You can see, it's no bike lane along here. That blue car there, yeah, that's in a very bad spot. And there's a maintenance sign there. We get into the bike lane and then suddenly, whoops, we've got to get out of it. And there's a car coming up behind us, and that was pretty lucky that there was no oncoming traffic and that Mercedes driver was able to go nice and wide and avoid us. Our options there would have been to have just gone crashing into the cones, or if the driver hadn't gone wide, get cleaned up from behind, which would have been pretty nasty. So we're going uphill here, and you can see there's a very significant speed difference between the vehicles that are overtaking us and the speed that we can maintain going up the hill. And looking at this from the rear view, look at the van back there. I mean, it's gone right into the bike lane, cutting that corner. If it had been that van driver behind us and not the Mercedes driver, that could have had a very different outcome when we came up to those cones. So the placement of those cones, the starting point, is really quite stupid. They should be set up to block the bike lane off completely, and cyclists just stay in the traffic lane and take the lane coming around there. Now here we have an example of a badly placed work vehicle, sticking out well onto the road, and not the best going around it, and then really stupidly placed signage here in the bike lane. You can see there's a concrete island on the right hand side there. The road narrows, and yet they've blocked off the bike lane, forcing cyclists to go around it. That's just not sensible at all. Now when we get to this section of Lilyfield Road coming up from the tram stop, what's happened on quite a few days is one lane is blocked off and the other lane is turned into one-way traffic in each direction, but in most cases the bike lane is clear, and there's no reason why cyclists in these circumstances can't be allowed to just ride through going up the bike lane. I mean, after all, we're quite used to having cars overtaking us from behind when we can't see them, so what's the issue with having vehicles coming the other way? Now here we see some works on this corner, and the vehicle is really blocked off that transition zone, and where that cyclist previously popped out from this driveway, it's now blocked off by a truck, so you're forced to go out through that section there, and you've got drivers whizzing off Victoria Road and coming up behind you quite fast, and it's not good. I mean, it's really not good. It's really, there should have been a traffic controller on the intersection there to stop cars coming around the corner when cyclists are coming off the bridge. Now here we have another day, and you can see that I've seen the cones up ahead, and I've stayed out in the bike lane, stayed out of the bike lane and stayed out in the traffic and not gone into that lane, and then suddenly had to duck out again. And in this instance, the traffic's not moving that quickly. You can see there's one lane blocked off, and vehicles and cyclists are mixed into this lane, and I can keep up with the traffic through here in this instance. This is pretty unusual. Normally there's a significant speed difference between what the vehicles can do and what cyclists can do chugging uphill here. If you're lucky, you can sometimes from a standing start there do 15 to 20 kilometres an hour up that hill, and drivers want to do 40. or 40 or faster, even though it's a maintenance zone. They want a rat run through, and this is the kind of example of behaviour you see here, where there's a rat runner coming the other way, and yep, that cyclist, both of us were pushing hard, and we had to brake to avoid going into the side of that four-wheel drive that just decided to cut straight across. Another example of going up the hill here. We've got vehicles coming down the road. There's no reason why the bike lane couldn't be opened here. Just put some cones, along the white line there, just to make it clear there's the vehicles have to stay within the cones, and the cyclists have to stay to the left of the cones. I mean, it's not that hard. I mean, if drivers can overtake from behind, surely they can avoid hitting cyclists from front on. It's not that hard. And what that would do is just allow cyclists to get out of the way of drivers, because it's really not that good. Now, this is more an example. Well, you're going to see mobile phone usage. So see that car on the right, lights have gone green, driver's sitting there, and as I came up beside them, I was waiting them to get moving, and they didn't, because they're on their phone, texting, doing whatever, reading emails. But as I went past them, they looked up, saw the lights were green, took off, and pretty lucky they didn't smash into the back of me. So again, another instance of poor driver behaviour. Now there she goes. I let her go through, and I wanted to see whether she got on the phone while we were waiting here. Probably should have gone past like that cyclist did and had a look. But when we got up to the next set of lights, I stopped here and had a look, and yep, she's on the phone again. So really more a emphasis on the requirement for properly grade separated bike lanes with a nice tall concrete curb to keep these distracted drivers away from cyclists and keep us safe, because this does happen all too often. So just to recap, what can be done? Well, really, I think council should be coming out here on a bicycle and reviewing the setup of each of these maintenance zones. Looking at where the signage is placed, looking at where the cones are placed, looking how they're parking their vehicles. It only takes from here, depending on how many times you get stopped by the people with the stop signs, 6 to 8 minutes to cycle it end to end. It's not like it's a full day job to do it. And they can check on things like, is signage been placed in stupid locations like this. Also, when the plans for traffic management are submitted, they really need to be thoroughly reviewed from a cyclist perspective. This is, after all, one of the main cycling arteries of Sydney. It does just make sense to really focus on the cycling aspects and not just the vehicle aspects of traffic management. This corner, we've covered. The cones should completely block it off from about here, so cyclists don't go into the bike lane and then have to duck out again into the traffic. They should just stay in the traffic lane all the way from the bridge, and you can just take the lane and go through here, and that would certainly make this a heck of a lot safer. And again, the placement of the cones seem to be inconsistent from day to day. It's good some days and it's not so good on others. Here, this is more a policing issue. Now, all the vehicles or all the drivers that overtook along here did so safely and legally. It's double white lines, but they can do this. They all left plenty of space, like this driver did, which is really good. But as we saw right at the start, you have drivers that really do terribly unsafe overtakes on blind corners and all the rest of it when there is oncoming traffic, like this idiot. So in sections like this, we were very lucky on this day that there was no oncoming traffic. But with rat runners, you never know. And I do recommend the council ask the police to come out here and just keep an eye on this and make sure that people aren't speeding in between these maintenance zones or doing unsafe overtakes in locations like this.